they take to the start here for the very first time. Looking down the inside of Jack Keatley as well, a touch of contact between the two. Still rubbing wheel to wheel. What a move! Fantastic stuff. Well, it is just 3 rounds left to go in this incredible season. And of course, we must head to one of the most historic circuits in all of motorsport. It's the Temple of Speed as we head to the Royal Villa of Monza Park. It is, of course, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza and one of the greatest racetracks on this planet. We've seen great racing in the 2 previous seasons of the CUPRA SimRacing Series. However, on both those occasions, it was all about a 60-minute endurance race. This time, we throw that out. It's focused on 2 incredible sprint races and a championship on the line. Lewis McGlade alongside me as Robert Wiesenmüller as we continue our trek around the globe for the CUPRA SimRacing Series. And what a season it's been, and what a season it's looking like it's going to finish as.
Hello everyone, hello Lewis. Yes indeed, we are here at the at one of these rounds, very close to the end of the season. Round 8 it is, to be precise. And if you just look at the championship standings right now, you can see how tight it still is. After all these rounds, drop score included, and Florian Hasse, he's just 12 points ahead of Adam Pinczek, who's the new driver in 2nd place in the championship.
Yeah, jumping over Gianmarco Fiducci, who received a penalty last round at the Nürburgring. But when you keep your eyes on drivers like Kirill Antonov, who did the first round in Division 2 of the season and has taken race wins in the last round at the Nürburgring, has had 3 race wins this season. Martin Barner up there as well, yet to take a win so far in the season. Came in as the last qualifier back at the last round at the Nürburgring, but still managed to grab himself 2 podiums, and this time he has got some assistance as we welcome back our series champion David Noj onto the grid, as well as Monza race winner in 2019 Gergo Baldi, both from Mirror Esports alongside Ben Zupanek, jumping in with Martin Barner. Petr Pliška topped the session. I'm sure you can see on here Gianmarco Fiducci is not here, but he'll be sat by the wayside keeping an eye on his team Fordzilla teammate Juan Manuel Gomez, who's up there towards the top. Of course, we've got drivers like Kirill Antonov, like Max Pfeiffer, who's been impressive over the last couple of rounds, and hopefully we can see a bit more of him today. But once again, great grid. But those big talking points, Rob, is about the likes of Baldi being back, as well as our series champion David Noj.
Yeah, Gergo Baldi, he gained some experience in the real TCR car throughout this year, so it will be exciting to see him back in the sim racing. He hasn't done many races this year in sim racing. And David Noj, of course, his first start of the season for the reigning champion. And yeah, on the flip side, we lose Fiducci only for this round, though. He's got a grid penalty, and that's why he chose to take his drop score in this round, and he's not even competing. Let's see if he will come back in the last 2 races. I expect him to. And still, it's a good opportunity for Florian Hasse and Adam Pinczek to gain some points. But before we get to that, let's take a look what happened last time. And I think, Lewis, you've got the highlights for us.
Welcome to highlights from the 7th round of the CUPRA SimRacing Series from the circuit where it all began, the Nürburgring. Kirill Antonov would have pole position and would seek his 3rd race win of the season, just ahead of championship leader Florian Hasse. Alessandro Ottaviani and Gianmarco Fiducci, championship protagonists, in 5th and 6th. On the race start, though, 3 jump starts. One from Max Pfeiffer, one from Alessandro Ottaviani, and a little bit further back from Leandro Vela as well, for good measure. On the run down to turn 1, though, Kirill Antonov had the whole shot and would hold the inside, but Florian Hasse was going on the attack already. Adam Pinczek got himself up onto the podium spot, and so did Gianmarco Fiducci get by Alessandro Ottaviani. Ottaviani, Vela and Pfeiffer would all come in quickly to serve their drive-through penalties for jumping the start. Pliška would be on the attack against Montgomery, who had a great qualifying session, was battling towards the bottom end of the top 10. An attempted move would not work out, but it would be completed down into the chicane, dragging Raikkonen into the mix. And Raikkonen would make that dive down into turn 1 and grab 10th position ahead of Montgomery. Fiducci would try and attack, trying to get past Adam Pinczek and making the move stick up into 4th position. A charge for the Italian looking for a podium. And a podium which he would quickly attack for. Down the inside of Barner, taking 3rd position. Maybe a race win was even on the cards. Barner would have this mistake leaving the arena section. No, up onto 2 wheels, big style, and he would lose the position to Pincest. Florian Haase would go for the race lead down the inside of Kirill Antonov and make the move stick, heading to the front of the field. And then Gianmarco Fiducci would get by the Russian, running down towards the hairpin. But then Fiducci would run too deep at turn 1, dropping the position to Antonov and nearly to Pincest as well. Antonov, a lap later, would go for the cutback, trying to get past Florian Haase, would continue to make contact into the second corner and then get past the German. Fiducci would make an audacious pass on the final lap of the race around the outside of Florian Haase, making it stick. Barner would drag towards the line and steal the podium from Haase. Across the line, though, at the front, it was Kirill Antonov taking the race win. 3rd one then from Antonov, and Gianmarco Fiducci and Martin Barner would join him on the podium. After moving up the order in the race, Raikkonen and Pliska would be reversed onto the front row of the grid just ahead of Vermeulen. No jump starts this time, everyone away cleanly and nicely down into turn 1. Raikkonen and Pliska would be going side by side at the front of the field, and this side by side would continue corner after corner. A little bit of contact, but nothing too major. Raikkonen was able to hang on down into the hairpin. Vela would get involved in the mix by diving in a little bit too deep, making contact with Pliska, and then on board with Szoboszlai, who was up onto 2 wheels, big style, through the chicane and losing out an awful lot of positions. A bit of 3 wide as either way of Montgomery goes Florian Haase and Gianmarco Fiducci. Fiducci picking up the places. Martin Barner was on a charge in the early stages of the race as he would be marching his way up towards the podium positions, getting past Pavel Makonin. Next stop would be Axel Vermeulen. Alessandro Ottaviani, recovering from his drive-through penalty in race 1, would have Kirill Antonov directly ahead, battling it out with Rasmus Salo. The pair would pass after the Finn made a mistake at the chicane. Vermeulen was the next one to be passed by Barner, as around the outside at the final parts of the arena section, gave him the inside on the exit, and Barner would grab the podium position. Again, more side-by-side between these two as Raikkonen and Pliska would be doing it, but Pliska just in a little bit too deep at the hairpin, a beautiful undercut, and Raikkonen would retake the race lead. It wouldn't last too long though, as going into the chicane, Martin Barner would try and make it 3 wide. They would make it stick through the chicane with contact between them, but the Italian would head to the front of the field. Vermeulen would grab himself a podium position at the moment. However, Barner was very swift to dive back down the inside and grab 3rd off of the Belgian, and Pincest was also involved in the mix, where a lap later he would dive it into the final corner, open the door and grab 4th position. Barner would be attacking once more. Raikkonen is next target. Get around the outside, back to the inside, and then taking over 2nd position. It wasn't enough though to get by Pliska, who would take his 2nd win in as many rounds. Pliska, Barner, Raikkonen, the podium, and what a race it was. Kirill Antonov only just getting back inside the top 10 with decent rounds from Haase and Fiducci.
Thanks a lot, Lewis. So then, Monza round 8 of the championship. And it will be quite the exciting one. Indeed, we've got, as always, qualifying coming up. 12 minutes, open session. Lots of drafting going on for sure on the circuit. And then afterwards, 2 sprint races, 2 times 25 minutes. Top 10 reverse grid for the 2nd one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be keeping our eye, to be honest, most specifically here, on what is going to be an inevitable Mirror Esports train with, of course, Nagy Panek, of course, Gergo Baldi, and the highest in the championship of all of them being Martin Barner. They'll be trying to do some work to assist Barner on that front, which, realistically speaking, when we were to return to 2020 in the season and watching that fight that was excellent to watch throughout the season between David Nagy and of course Flora. Who was it again? Sorry,
Moritz Lerner, I think.
Of course it was Moritz Lerner, who didn't get that much assistance over that run of the season. Whereas obviously Mirror Esports, David Nagy, they were all over him in qualifying, helping him, moving him forward. Around here, I think all the Mirror bunch are going to be so close. We've seen it in practice.
Yeah, the Mirror train is certainly going to return. You can see already the cars there very close to each other. There's one, that's not a Mirror car there, the white and black one. That's an imposter.
That one's Sinan Gunai, who's just in the middle of all of it. Just to be fair, if I was him, I'd be dropping onto the rear of this train and then just sitting there. Why not?
Yeah, for sure, it's a good strategy. But of course, the drivers from Mirror, they will drop back throughout the lap, so can be possible that someone gets impeded. We've seen it at Hockenheim at the very first round of the season that sometimes it can go wrong in these qualifying sessions. Very hectic.
Absolutely. You can obviously see you can differentiate the Mirror Esports drivers by the colours of their mirrors. Martin Barner there with the red, David Noj with the purple, Ben Zupanek with the orange, and of course Gergo Baldi with the yellow mirrors. And it's great to see them returning once again. Of course, to remind you, as you can see on your screen, David Noj is the reigning champion, but it was Gergo Baldi who won this race back in 2019. I remember it clearly, as clear as day, being this incredible battle, and it was absolutely fantastic. Bence Banky was in there, Alex Dornaden was in there. Obviously, he went on to go and win the championship, but that race win was sorted from Gergo Baldi because he was actually the first driver to make a mistake. He skipped one of the chicanes. I think it was De La Roja that he skipped, and it basically gave him a slowdown penalty from the lead or second, wherever he was, dropped down to the rear end of the train. And he, rather than panicking, was like, you know, I'm going to sit here, it's fine, not going to go instantly on the attack. And then Bence Banky made a mistake, dropped to the rear of the train. Alex Dornaden made a mistake, dropped to the rear of the train. And who came through in all of it? Yep, it was Gergo Baldi, who was that first person to make that mistake, jumped to the head of the queue and really took over and took that race win, kept himself in championship contention heading into the Macau final that year, which we're looking forward to this year as well, with Macau ending the season, every season of the CUPRA SimRacing Series. How very fitting it is.
Speaking of championship contention, there's Alan Pinsash, who's running in third position in the practice session prior to this event. And you can see a big train there, but Pinsash, he's in the Arnage competition team and he doesn't have a teammate on this grid. So he's kind of out there on his own. I think he might be working with Ottaviani. Lots of curb.
Yeah, not the ideal line there through the Rettifilio. Just behind him, of course, you've got Ottaviani, like you said, potentially working together. Just behind that, you've got Gustavo Fragotto, who rejoins the championship. I'm pretty sure he's done a couple of rounds this season for Snow Shattered, as they've picked up a sponsor for this season, the form of Bourdons. And behind that, you've got Rasmus Salo as well for good measure. So there's a comfortable contingent here of basically solo efforts, or somewhat solo efforts. Of course, the virtual drivers by TX3 do have a couple of drivers on the grid, with Santa Guida as well. But realistically speaking, you've got a lot of drivers here that are working for themselves. And so in that sense, if you're going to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Mirror Esports and such, you've got to take all of these solo drivers, put them all together, and try and achieve something more from that group. You're making your own little team in that sense.
Yes, indeed. It doesn't always have to be the same name that stands there on the screen at the bottom. You can just work with someone else. It might work out as well, but you can already see Mirror Esports there in the train.
Yeah, look at that. Oof, was that nearly cleared off the road? It was a little bit, as diving through there. One of the Mirror Esports drivers being, I think that was David Nod, who's just a little bit in too hot. Gergo Baldi, though, we're focused on at the moment, as Farkas Vinieri will set the first laps of the session, but the real meaningful ones are coming in now from Mirror Esports. And is it going to be enough to start challenging the Hungarian that tops the session? From Ben Zupanek, the answer to that question is a very solid yes. The same with Martin Barner, who make it a Hungarian 1, 2, 3. But Alessandro Ottaviani puts himself into third position, and we'll watch this train as Attila Dina in it is going pretty quick. We've not seen so many great results from Attila Dina. We know the potential of the young German, but we've just not seen it really come together just yet.
Yeah, that's true, but maybe it's a good opportunity here. That's the MLS cars, Markovic right in front of him. He doesn't have a team livery, but he's part of the same team. And there behind the Der Esports drivers, Michael Rechel and Florian Hasse. Florian Hasse, of course, our championship leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And Haas is looking very, very good. Of course, season runner-up last time being Moritz Lerner, jumped over to the Der Esports camp, won the first race of the season. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen him since. Obviously, taking on to other commitments and being very, very busy. Here's Kirill Antonov in a complete world of his own. Kirill Antonov having 2 pole positions so far in the season. Of course, had pole position at Silverstone, went on to win that day. Had pole position last round out at the Nürburgring, and obviously went on to win that day. I do get the feeling, though, Rob, that driving by yourself around a circuit that we know goes hand in hand with slipstream, with trains running around this track, I don't think driving around by yourself, whilst you'll be able to get a clean lap on the board, and I'm sure that'll be plenty good enough for a decent qualifying position, you're not going to get pole realistically doing that.
Yeah, but he doesn't really have a choice. Both Mukonen and Sokovikov didn't qualify for the server. Of course, some of the spots are taken by the Mirror Esports drivers. So he's just out here on his own. And he hasn't really been, he's never driven for another team. He, maybe isn't connected in the same way like Pinces is, who can just ask Ottaviani for a draft in this session here. He also made himself a couple of rivals in the past rounds. So different and difficult conditions for Antonov here in a beautiful black and yellow car. P20 at the moment, that means he doesn't have a lap time, because also the cut detection, we shouldn't forget about that. Very easy at Monza to get an invalid lap because you have got a lot of tarmac runoff areas.
Yeah, you can straight line a little bit the Rettifilio, of course, De La Roja as well, back with Markovic, and look at this for a train across the line. Markovic, 7th position, Florian Haase moves up, and Pliszka actually moves up into 3rd spot, with Attila Dina now in 4th. So decent lap times coming in. Of course, Pliszka being the top of pre-qualifying, as we'll refocus our attention on the Mirror Esports train. You've got David Nosh just ahead of Martin Barner, and heading the entire train is Gergo Baldi, who's is not afraid, of course, having won things like the WTCR Esports Championship and stuff like that. He's still not afraid to jump in and know his position in the team. He's here to assist more so than anything else. And that's exactly what he did last season as well to David Nosh. He jumps in, he works for the team as a driver for the team, not out for his own ego or anything like that. And I really respect that.
Yeah, and I think this is menacing for the other teams, that they come in with 4 drivers there. Schuti was very close to qualifying as well, so it might have been almost 5. And now they're drafting again, they're showing the teamwork again, and Luka Zupanek and Bana are. They're 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, absolutely. And there we go. That's David Nosh there assisting Martin Barner, getting out of the final moment to not impede Barner down towards the Parabolica at the end of the lap. They know where the attention is from the team, although the lap time's not looking so good from Martin Barner. I'll be very happy with 2nd position on the grid nonetheless, but what is it going to be towards the line? Penultimate lap for these drivers as they'll complete this one. Barner across the line, 3rd sector is good enough, and it is up onto pole position by quite a margin. That final sector was insane from that group, and they might well be done with qualifying, but certainly not done yet, as Adam Pinces comes into the final corner, into the Parabolica, was assisted from Alessandro Ottaviani there on that push down, and was getting a little bit of a bump draft. But I think that final sector, the intensity that Barner put in there, the assistance of the slipstream from his teammates, might just be a little bit too much to thwart. Alessandro Ottaviani's dropped off the rear end of Pinces, so he'll go on his lap. Pinces moves up into 4th position, back inside the top 5, a position he's been very, very comfortable with so far this season. And now the focus will be on Ottaviani and trying to improve him somewhere up towards the front row as we refocus on Farkas, who's backed out of it on this lap, I think.
Yeah, but he's got a stunning qualifying. It's his first race in Server 1, and he's P7. He was already fast in the pre-qualifying. Definitely shows it's not a fluke. A couple of debutants here. Kevin Meyer is another one, a German driver. He's part of the Absolute Motorsport team, actually. And I think we've got him on the camera. The cameras finally work again. We had a little bit of a scary moment there at the beginning of the stream, but there they are, and there's Kevin Meyer. P19, that's decent, ahead of Salo, ahead of his well-experienced teammate.
Yeah,
and ahead of the series champion as well, not really out of position there.
I do get the feeling that, I mean, if you look at Naj, look at Gergo Baldi, 12th and 20th between the two of them, they've obviously been assisting their teammates more so than anything else. I actually don't know how much they'll be able to do in this qualifying session. Look at this lap time, though, coming in from Alessandro Ottaviani. They're on this very important run down towards Ascari, but it's all about nailing this, and Adam Pinces just had to get out of the way quite early. Here, I think might try and bump draft, same as what we saw from Ottaviani bump drafting Adam Pinces, but this lap time coming in from Ottaviani is absolutely incredible. A scintillating end to this session. 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the clock, and once we're done with that time, the session will automatically roll over into the first race, and I'm sure a fantastic feat that will be. It's looking good for Ottaviani, but that we know that final section for Martin Barner was the important one. That was what separated him from the rest. He was grey, and then a very, very bright purple. What can Ottaviani do with the assistance of Adam Pinsesh towards the line, the Italian on home soil? It's up to second place on the grid, onto the front row, and I think he'll be pretty impressed with that one, Rob.
Fantastic lap from Ottaviani, and it shows you don't have to be in Mirror Esports, be at the front here, but look where Florian Hasse is.
Yeah, absolutely. Just 10th place for our championship leader as Juan Manuel Gomez moves up into 7th spot. A decent lap time looking like it's coming in from Bence Farkas, and back with Kirill Antonov, who's driving around by himself. We'll see if there's going to be any improvement from Florian Haase, who's been knocked outside the top 10 from Pfeiffer and Markovic. Kirill Antonov across the line. He's 20th. He's now 4th. Big lap time from the Russian, right up towards the thick end of things in the session. Focused back on Gustavo Frigotto. There is Bence Farkas. So first sector, really, really good for the Hungarian. Second sector, not so much, but still, it's in the ballpark. Could be up inside the top 5. Let's see that final lap improvement across the line.
Fourth.
He's up to 4th place. Absolutely incredible. And our championship leader, Florian Haase, is down in 13th. Wow, the next 2 races are going to be incredible. 25 minutes will go on the clock. We'll be back after this. Wow, what a session. What a way to end it. And the 25-minute race coming up here, Rob. I get a feeling this is going to be a pretty big barnstormer. Surely the advantage is now to Martin Barner.
Yeah, I think so as well, but look at Antonov, what he could do on his own. I think everyone will be kind of scared when they saw this lap time coming in from him. Marcos, of course, in the last moment as well. Stunning debut from him.
Absolutely. And the thing that we have to remember again is that the top 10 gets reversed from this, that Florian Haase is way down the order in comparison to where he should be. It is Martin Barner and Alessandro Ottaviani on the front row of the grid. 25 minutes are on the clock here at the Temple of Speed as we get underway for the first race in the CUPRA SimRacing Series. Here, back on Italian soil, as Alessandro Ottaviani instantly ducks into the slipstream of Martin Barner on that run down towards the Rettifilio for the first time. 2 wide in the background as the attack from Farkas going down the inside, and Kirill Antonov. A look at Pliska around the outside for Ballas. He's up in a 4th position, makes a bit of contact with Ben Supanek and pushes the Russian of Kirill Antonov off the road. Barner's leading by only a couple of tenths of a second as Alessandro Ottaviani's close, running into the Della Rogier side by side through Curva Grande as Kirill Antonov's not having any of what Ben Farkas is putting out, and Adam Pinsesh is going to be left out to drive by Attila Dina, who's having a fantastic start to this race, well up inside the top 10, as good as we've seen all season. And around the outside of Farkas, he's going to go back with Florian Haase. Only 1 position gained on lap 1 as James Montgomery is going side by side with Markovic. Crazy start to the race, and Markovic is deep down the inside. Absolutely crazy.
Not so crazy for Martin Barner though. He definitely converted this pole position into an early lead there, and he's got Ottaviani right behind him. He would probably wish that it was Supanek instead.
See what Barner can do. He's got to go thick on the defence here. He'll might need the assistance of his teammate Ben Supanek once he gets to him. But this kind of race, it's not hard to pass, but it's hard to get past and stay ahead, as Juan Manuel Gomez was diving down the inside of Farkas, and they're going side by side through Ascari. The Argentinian's going to come out on top of that as Farkas is going on a one-way trip down the order, unfortunately, now to 8th position with Pinsesh and Markovic applying pressure. You can see pulling over to the left-hand side. There was Alessandro Ottaviani. You also had, of course, Pliska defending from Antonov. It's 3 horses at the front at the moment, pulling out a half a second gap on the rest of the contingent behind, looking backwards from Martin Barner to complete the first lap here at Monza, and this is going to be an absolute pressure cooker. Alessandro Ottaviani, though, is well experienced himself, having won 2 races so far in the season. Martin Barner yet to pick up his first race win, so this could be incredible. As Ben Supanek's already diving it down the inside. Look at that, an incredible send on the Italian. A little bit of contact into the Rettifilio, and Ben Supanek might well get through a little bit tight, and look who that is assisting. Martin Barner's gone.
Couldn't have gone better for Barner there. Supanek putting the pressure on Ottaviani, who's defending hard. Is it really the best strategy here to defend so hard in the beginning? Because you might lose the draft, and the driver at the front, if he's doing consistent lap times, he might be checking out. Zupanek now has got Pliska right behind him, and then Antonov.
I think right now Ben Zupanek will be trying to build, or trying to get Martin Barner to build around about a 1 second, maybe 1.5 second gap. And the way he could do that is by, in assisting his teammate, is by attacking Alessandro Ottaviani, but almost attacking him in a sense of not going through. You're just leaving your car in an awkward position and costing time to the entire group. As now running down to Ascari, he's got to the outside. This would be a bold move from Zupanek, as he's already pulled clear of Alessandro Ottaviani. Ottaviani might well back out of this one, as Pliska, the two-time race winner in the series, is right behind. Ottaviani manages to slot the gap between the Hungarian and the Italian either side of him, and it is back to being a Mirror Esports 1-2 here, as Barner and Zupanek. 1.1 seconds Barner has, and that could be a hefty margin. Florian Haas is on the cusp of the top 10 as well, and we know the top 10 is important, Rob. Obviously the top 10 in this get reversed, and for Florian Haas, who's under an awful lot of pressure from James Montgomery, he needs to gain one more. This is not looking so great from our championship leader.
No, it isn't. Especially when you see where Antonov is, where you see where Barner is, and Pincer, she's the one who's holding this crucial 10th position at the moment, and he's way closer to Markovic than Haas is to anyone else. But we've also seen how quickly an accident can happen here. And look how they're diving to the side on the straight here. Peter Pliska right behind Ottaviani, who's late on the brakes there.
Leap, surely. Oh, that is absolutely stunning from Ottaviani. I didn't think he was going to get that one stopped. Incredible stuff, and Zupanek is now back behind, and once again someone who's leading this group is sat there thinking, oh my god, can you please attack from behind. He's just hoping that Pliska will attack running down into Della Roja. Absolutely nothing between Ottaviani and Ben Zupanek, as Martin Barner's being given the easiest race at Monza that you could possibly ask for, considering how pertinent the slipstream is around here. Of course, you've got to remember about the track limits, slowdown penalties, and even breaching instant limits will be critical late in the races. I think that was someone diving there, was Bence Farkas diving down the inside of Gomez in the background and making it stick into Lesmo 1, as the train behind will try and work their way closer and closer. But at the moment, that gap for the very important 10th place is up to over a second, as we'll look on replay once again to that fantastic move from Alessandro Ottaviani around the outside at the Rettifilio. On live pictures, Ben Zupanek was looking once again, but he might be sat there thinking, I did not expect Ottaviani to be able to make that one stick, because surely he was going straight on.
Yeah, surprise move from Ottaviani, but all this fighting has given Martin Barner a massive lead. Let's look back from his car here. You can hardly see Ottaviani.
If his car wasn't bright green on the front, I think you might well struggle to see the virtual drivers by TX3 man, as the Italian is now going to try and close down to Martin Barner. He'll still be getting a little whiff of the slipstream, but it's more so the focus of the target ahead and trying to close down that gap when seeing your opponent is not pulled away too far, as Adam Pintesh has, I don't think, too much pressure on his shoulders to overtake Markovic, and you can see this by the fact that he is just pushing the Montenegro driver up to the chasing group, as Ben Zupanek looking to the inside of Ottaviani, but Ottaviani too good on the brakes, looking a little bit too deep though from Antonov, and there was contact between Antonov and Attila Dina, who's looking for his first top 5 in the season, as Attila Dina is looking better this round than he ever has, and that was a little bit too much from Kirill Antonov, turning over the nose of Attila Dina going around Curva Grande.
Crazy stuff here in the battle, and Attila Dina, his best performance ever in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, but Bence Farkas is attacking him now on the outside. And Dina, as we know him, he's not giving more space than necessary, and that's allowing Gomez now into the battle.
There is Attila Dina, one of our youngest drivers on the grid, of course, but now driving in a slightly smarter livery, shall we say, than how he began the season, obviously driving for MRS Esports and having a couple of teammates out on the grid. MRS Esports are a team that are growing to quite a substantial rate in the RaceRoom esports scene, and great to see them in their actual colours.
Yeah, a couple of other drivers, like the first champion of the CUPRA SimRacing Series, Alexander Dorniden, are also part of the team now. Not in the this race, but the reigning champion is, and he's really out of position. I think it shows that he hasn't been racing for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by this by quite a bit. About David Noj. Now, not to be disappointed, as you can see that how crazy it is. Saw a little bit of side-by-side there between Rasmus Salo. Yeah, he's dropping back. I wonder if that's a bit of a slowdown penalty, or maybe he's just dropping back to try and assist his teammate David Noj and go and have a little bit of fun, as Fragotto and Vela also pass back up towards the battle for second place. A little bit of assistance from Ben Zupanek to the rear end of Alessandro Ottaviani, as Pliska's also close. There's Zupanek looking to the inside. The gap's been closed down a couple of tenths of a second to Martin Barner, so maybe for Mirror Esports' sake, Zupanek needs to go on the attack once again, as the important position, the 10th place, has been dropped from the hands of Markovic, as Florian Haas has got through and trying to pick up another one on Adam Pinsesh.
Yeah, Markovic really lost some places there, lost some time, and now first and second in the championship, Hasse and Pinsesh fighting with each other for the reverse grid pole. They can both finish where they are at the moment. I think they will both be happy.
It's such an important position this season. I would say less so around Monza than most other circuits, but in the consideration that Florian Haas has not exactly driven up the grid with incredible speed, only from 13th to 10th in the opening roughly 10 minutes of this race. The thing is Florian Haas, he's a driver that likes to play the long game. And we've seen this a few times. Of course, has won a few races in the season. He's won one race this season, one race in the previous season. But it's not so much the race wins that put him in championship contention. It's his relentless consistency. It's not even podiums so much. It's just so that when he's having a not so great round, he's almost always inside the top 5, and that consistency is what puts him in contention for the championship and of course the championship lead. We know what quality Florian Haas is. He's a driver that knows how to go racing, though. He will get his elbows out if he needs to.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see how different the strategies of the drivers who are fighting at the front have been. Hasse and also Pinsesh have been very consistent in the season. Antonov pretty much is the clear opposite. He's been the outright fastest driver out of anyone. But he doesn't have that consistency. He doesn't get a lot of points, especially in the reverse grid race. He gets the least points out of every driver in the top 9. So, yeah, now this time in top 5, that should give him a good chance there, but so far this season it hasn't really paid off for him. He's been better in the first races, like at Silverstone for example, like at Spa, and I think at Hungaroring as well. Was it, or was it Nürburgring? Where he got his third win of the season.
It was Nürburgring. Yeah. I mean, the thing with Antonov is that he's an incredible driver. We know that. It's just his temperament which needs to really come in a little bit. It's been a lot better this season than we've seen in seasons prior, and he is looking definitely worthy of contending for a championship. And with 3 rounds left to go in the 2021 CUPRA SimRacing Series, any one of the top 5 drivers can realistically win the championship. Of course, Florian Haas, our championship leader, just ahead of Adam Pinsesh, who's both inside the top 10, but only just, but they'll be reversed up the order. Of course, you've got Gianmarco Fiducci, who's not here, and drop score will be applied. And still reckon the feisty Italian, who I know is watching on, I can see him, it is well within a chance, at least a hope of winning a championship, I do believe. Of course, then you've got Kirill Antonov and Martin Barner, who are just about within contention. Kirill Antonov, who's inside the top 5. Martin Barner, who is leading this race at this very moment. However, speaking of that lead, it has disappeared as Alessandro Ottaviani has closed in. Ben Zupanek is now looking backwards to Pliska. I think Ben Zupanek might well have had a slowdown penalty or some form of issue as he's dropping back behind Pliska as well. Pliska onto the podium, and the gap now is 1.5 seconds ahead to Ottaviani and Barner.
What has Ottaviani done? Where's the pace coming from the Italian? Been so fast in the qualifying already, and now just shooting up to the back of Martin Barner.
It's got to. So I know that he's had a little bit of assistance from Ben Zupanek, which is a bit mad in itself. Let's see if Ottaviani goes on the attack or if he's just going to try and help Martin Barner right now. I think we've got our answer as Barner comes straight back across. Don't like seeing that. as straight across the nose of Alessandro Ottaviani whilst they were still side by side. I've seen that around Monza quite recently, to be perfectly honest, as Florian Haas has now got past Adam Pinsesh and looks a little bit more comfortable for the top 10 reverse grid. But we are only, and I must stress this, halfway through this race. 12 minutes and 40 seconds left to go in this race. 12 minutes 30 is the halfway point of this race. There's still plenty of time for these positions to chop and change. And again, if I'm in this group, I'd actually want to not fight too hard and try and close down to Benz Farkas, Gomez, Dina, of course, Kirill Antonov, Ben Zubanek, all in this train that goes up to Pliska in that podium battle, and that's where you get your safety.
And I think there's another battle forming up here between Markovic and Pinsesh. It looks like Pinsesh doesn't quite have the pace.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock, really. Of course, driver who's second in the championship, the Hungarian Faranaj competition, just doesn't seem to have it. Did actually manage to have a very brief chat with Adam Pinsesh, of course, at the Sim Racing Expo a couple of weekend ago, whatever it was, week and a half, and you know. Whether there's much confidence in this championship, he knows he's got the pace. We've seen this so many times from Adam Pinsesh, of course, multiple race winner. However, yet to have done so this season. Only been on the podium twice in 2021, and we've seen him win 2 races in last season alone. So we know there's a bit more pace out of Adam Pinsesh. We know that he can contend for championship. It's his consistency once again. Now, does Ottaviani attack? Or did he just sit on the rear end of Barnett? I'd push him. I'd just bump draft and try and build that gap to Pliska and Zubanek. I think that's what's happening. Oh, not quite.
No.
Oh, looking back to the inside, but still nothing. We're okay for now.
Side by side here between Dina and Gomez. Gomez had a horrible season. Picked up a race ban. He's well out of the top 20 in the points. But this time it looks like he could actually get into the reverse grid.
And it's not like, we've not seen great pace out of Gomez before. Of course, was involved in a reverse grid from the Palaver at Spa, which was a little bit dramatic. Won't go into it too much, but between the Forza drivers, I think they had a front row lockout as Gomez has got down the inside of Attila Dina, and Dina will go for the switch back out of Della Roja down the inside, heading up towards Lesmo 1, as there's been a switch of position, I think, a little bit further ahead as well, as there's a little bit of contact once again, a little bit of a brush, a little bit of a touch through Lesmo 1 as Attila Dina and Juan Manuel Gomez are close, but Dina is back ahead. Farkas is there, and the harder they fight, Haase will be involved. I think Pinsesh has found his rhythm, found his pace a little bit more as he's stuck to the rear end of the German, as Farkas is now coming around the outside of Juan Manuel Gomez up towards Ascari. Gomez giving the assistance to the MRS Esports driver Attila Dina, heavy on the brakes. Farkas is sending it in around the outside. We've seen a bit of side-by-side through here, and Farkas has made that one stick. Superb move.
Fantastic stuff from Farkas. What a debut it is. What a debut indeed. Now they're drafting once again. Antonov got a double draft there from Pliska and from Zubanek, who he just hits in the rear.
10 minutes left to go. Now, when we raced here before, of course, I've said this before, we did 2 endurance races around here in 2019 and 2020, which would have required a pit stop. None of that today, is a little bit defensive from Martin Barner as Ottaviani's got back to the outside, going into the Rettifilio. He's made this move stick before on Martin Barner's teammate, who I think Barner might have been in a little bit too deep there and might have a slow exit out of the first chicane down towards Della Roja and around Curva Grande, as Attila Dina and Benz Farkas exchange numbers, shall we say, as they were rubbing their way through T1 and Gomez, and we're back on board with Florian Haase, who's now in this train and could well be looking for some decent points for the championship leader. He didn't qualify very well and needed to do the work to move forward, and realistically speaking, he's done that bit by bit. But it's the small steps that help, as look at this defence, the attack rather, from Benz Farkas. Way too deep, 1 position gone, 2 positions gone, 3 positions gone. Is it going to be 4 by the time we hit Lesmo 1? I think the answer to that question is going to be a potential yes, as Pinsesh nearly made that one stick, and Markovic is back in it.
Good opportunistic driving from Hasse there. Getting through. He was not in a great position before because he had Gomez, the teammate of Fiducci, in front of him and Pinsesh right behind him. Now Farkas maybe acts as a little bit of a buffer.
Shall see. Oh, a little bit dicey there once again as covered from Gomez. I think there might have been a little bit of contact as well as Florian Haase was being pushed into it by Farkas, but let's be honest, Florian Haase is not going to want to hold around in this group for too much longer. Remember when he was battling it out at Silverstone, and this shows the head of Florian Haase. He was battling it out at Silverstone in the battle for what was third place. It was an intense battle, hard fought between his teammate, between Fiducci, between, I think, well, a couple of other drivers in the mix. I was going to say Kirill Antonov, but Antonov and Barnum were so far ahead that day. And Florian Haase just got out of it. He just pulled out of the battle, was like, I'm not going to be a part of this. So he knows the desperation to clear that group and get out of the danger zone as Ottaviani, once again, he was looking to the outside. This time he's managed to somehow find his way to the inside. And, oh, Martin Barnum was not having any of that whatsoever as the top five remain the same, but this time Gomez is attacking Dina down into T1. Pinsesh also diving the inside of Farkas and getting past his countryman and up into 9th position, and also Markovic is there as well. This is going to be super tight, and Pfeiffer might well find his way into the top 10 reverse grid mix as well with James Montgomery.
And let's see if they all stay on the track. Let's see if they all stay under the incident limit. Gomez there with the high ping. He's racing from Argentina, of course. He's trying to squeeze himself on the inside there. Ooh, that's gonna work, though.
Or maybe too deep, though.
Oh, there's
a little bit of contact. What has happened to Florian Haase? Oh, Florian Haase, I think he's been spun around, and our championship leader has been in the barrier. He worked his way up. We said he was in the danger zone, nearly got passed by Salo, but has been passed by Wittfurt, by Gergo Baudi, and now Vela is also going to get through, and Rasmus Salo. Florian Haase was inside the top 10, but how it switches around. 10 positions lost in one lap as he drops down all the way to 19th position. The CUPRA SimRacing Series continues to deliver on drama every single time we go racing, and this is none different. Martin Barner leading then from Ottaviani, from Pliszka, from Zupanek, from Kirill Antonov. The top 5 are a train. They are together, and they are going to battle it out for a race win here at the Temple of Speed.
We're trying to get the replay up there. Can't see a different angle, unfortunately, but we have to focus on the leaders now. Because Ottaviani's trying around the outside, and Barna once again is leaving him no space.
Yeah, that was once again an incredible attempt from Alessandro Ottaviani to try and make it stick around the outside of the Parabolica as Attila Dina's got past on Gomez potentially, but we know what the ping's like on that one. It will switch those positions around a few times. I think that might well have just been on the timesheets as Ottaviani looking back to the outside. He'll be super heavy on the brakes. Martin Barner is covering this off every single time that Ottaviani throws anything at it, but you can see the differential on line running through the Rettifilio as Ottaviani is taking this tighter line through the first part and a wider line, a wider curve through the final part to give him a little bit extra speed around Curva Grande, but every time he wants to put his car anywhere, Martin Barner is there. He's waiting for something. Let's see if Ottaviani can find his way through. Jinx one way, Jinx back the other way, and Martin Barner is able to hang on for now, but Ottaviani is looking a little bit more impatient as the laps are going by, and especially now that the group is a part of him behind, things are a bit more questionable. Let's take a look at this replay then as to what happened. We're not necessarily focused on what we're seeing directly on the screen. We're focused on Florian Haase. So it was Adam Pinsesh, second in the championship, spinning around Florian Haase.
Ooh, there will be some discussions after this race, that's for sure. Florian Haase well down the order now. Running in P19 only, because he might have picked up some damage. Can't focus on him for too long, because we have to get back here. Top 5. And, you know, covered by less than 1 second.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I've been in a car, I know you have as well, Rob. I've been in battles like this where it's 5 drivers qualified or separated rather in the race by such a small margin. It is incredibly intense. And watch the snake move over and look at that from Kirill Antonov. He doesn't care one bit about that train. He's expecting something major to happen here. Is this a different edge from Kirill Antonov that we're seeing? He knows that 5th place is still good on points whilst we're at the later point of the season where every single point matters. It does all the way through the season, but right now you need to be hoovering up what you can. I think Antonov might well be trying to keep his nose out of it just a little bit for now, expecting something major to happen. 2 laps left to go in the first race here at Monza. Martin Barner defensive, Pliszka going on the attack of Ottaviani. Ottaviani going on the attack for the race lead, tried to get it back down the inside, and there goes Ben Zupanek down the inside potentially of Pliszka. The whole train remains the same, and Barner has a bit of a healthy lead now.
Everything's still working well for Barner there. battles throughout the field. Montgomery now all of a sudden, he's joined the battle for the reverse grid pole position. I think it's 2 laps left, so this one and then another one.
These are all like the younger names to the CUPRA SimRacing Series. Of course, we've got Markovic, we've got Farkas, we've got Montgomery and Pfeiffer, as well as there's Gomez back down the inside of Attila Dina. There's a bit of contact, and Attila Dina heading this train has just been deposed a position now to 7th. It's still looking like it could be a fantastic race from Attila Dina, who is really impressing here at Monza. And there goes Ben Farkas down the inside of the driver from Montenegro, that one being Markovic. Not able to get through. James Montgomery's all over the place in the background, trying to figure his way past and inside the all-important top 10. He's got to worry about Pfeiffer, he's got to worry about Rakel, he's got to worry about Santaguida, who's rejoined this battle pack for virtual drivers by TX3. It's going to be an intense run at the front of the grid, as well as in this train as well. All positions are important. You've got to be inside the top 10 as Farkas once again looking to the inside of Markovic. No way through. The train remains the same, but look at Attila Dina, not right on the correct line realistically through Ascari, and he might be under a lot of pressure running down to the Parabolica, which cannot be said for Martin Barner, who was away clear. Here comes Pinsesh on Dina. Is there going to be a move? The answer to that is no. Pinsesh wasn't really looking.
Farkas is trying a move on Markovic, and that might as well work. They will be going side by side on the start-finish straight. To keep our eyes now though on the leaders, because this is for the race win. Final lap for Martin Barner, still in the lead. They've kind of pulled a gap on Pliska there.
I think these positions may well remain somewhat the same, at least for the top 2. But let's see what Zupanek can do about Pliska. Can he grab himself a podium position? Can Kirill Antonov, winner of 3 races this season, what is going to happen with this entire group, as well as look at that, Max Pfeiffer through the middle of both of all of that, got past on Montgomery, got past on Farkas, and somehow Max Pfeiffer's got himself up into 10th position in the all-important reverse grid race. Could be going his way.
Pfeiffer came super close to winning at Spa already. This was not the reverse grid race though, will be interesting to see. Antonov still in P5, he couldn't really make up any ground, and he's fighting against Zupanek, who's always defending super hard.
Got his elbows out a few times in 2021 in the CUPRA SimRacing Series. He's given it a good go, but unfortunately has not been able to do much about it. At the front though, whilst this battle is raging, Ottaviani once again will remind you a little bit further outside the championship contention than Martin Barner, but still realistically is potentially in that sort of train. It'll be a bit harder for Ottaviani to do so. Won 2 races so far this season. He'll have one final opportunity to get past the Hungarian that leads this race for Mirror Esports. They fielded 4 cars here at Monza, trying to help Martin Barner, trying to assist him to a championship. We've got side by side round the final corner. Ottaviani's gone around the outside. He's got back to the inside. It could be a photo finish, but Martin Barner has closed the door on that one. It's still going to be tight. Barner's basically celebrating. He's waiting for the line to come. And finally, Martin Barner can count himself a CUPRA SimRacing Series winner as he hits the line at the front here at Monza. Ottaviani second. Ben Zupanek managed to sneak himself onto the podium ahead of Pliska, and look at this train across. Markovic inside the top 10, as was Max Pfeiffer. So Pfeiffer doing just about enough. Attila Dina, his teammate, best driver of the season from him so far, in 7th place. Gomez, Pinsesh, all of that up there. That was crazy on drama. None more so though than that conversation as to what happened with Florian Haase.
Yeah, lots of stuff to talk about after this race, but we've got another one coming up straight after this one. Martin Barner, though, his first victory in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, and he's right in the title contention now with this result, ahead of Ottaviani and Zupanek. Fastest lap for Kirill Antonov.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. We do have a second race coming up, another 25 minutes when we put on the clock. We'll be back in just a moment. We are never short on drama in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, and of course, heading to such a prestigious circuit, that was never going to change. And what a race it was. We saw a fantastic battle at the front. We saw Barna taking his first race win, and of course, Alessandro Ottaviani being up there on the podium. But the championship potential of a race like that can really swing on its head. Whilst we do have drop scores in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, it's just a single round, and a bad round from Florian Haase there. I'm not even sure he made it to the finish of that race. He wasn't inside the top 20. He finished in 21st position. Yeah. Crazy, crazy stuff, Rob, and I do get the feeling that we are not done with drama today.
No, we're not. We might use the opportunity here to just watch one more time the incident between Florian Haase and Adam Pinchas there.
It's absolutely crazy to see them. Obviously, 2 and 3 wide, running down into the De La Roger chicane, and it was Florian Haase who was just trying to back out of things. We'll take another look at it here. Riding on board with Attila Dina. Gomez goes to one side and tries to get down the inside of the German, but then Florian Haase over to the left of shot and was backing out of it. Wasn't really trying to get involved in the fight, and as he was backing out of it, the Hungarian just behind Adam Pinchas in a little bit too hot, and Florian Haase then dumped down the back end of the field. And unfortunately, racing around a circuit like this, that's part of the risky game. He didn't qualify very well, and unfortunately, if that's the case, you kind of pay the price.
Yeah, that's true, but I think he will, not be very happy about it, that it was especially his direct rival for the championship.
Right.
Something that, the drivers have been quite unhappy with each other after the last race already, especially Fiducci and Hasse in this case. And Pinchas has kind of stayed out of all of it. He hasn't picked up a penalty the whole season. But for Hasse to lose a race like this, that's of course very frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not. It's obviously just the points margin, the difference that this kind of stuff causes. But like you say, when it is direct rivals in the championship, that things become a little bit more heated. And I'm sure that Florian Haase is not going to be impressed one bit with anything that happened in that race. Either way, we're going to have the top 10 reversed. We're going to have young guns on the front row in just a few moments' time. Max Pfeiffer and Markovic will be on that front row of the grid. It's going to be a fantastic race. I do get that vibe. Of course, we've got drivers that are wanting to prove themselves here, drivers that are wanting to make their name. And with only a few races left to go in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, it is just 5 after we are finished. Oh, well, 5 from now, 4 after we're finished here today. Just 2 more rounds. And it's if you're going to make your name at any point in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, it's kind of one of those things that it's basically a now or never moment. So Pfeiffer, Markovic, you've got Pinchas up there, second in the championship. Whether we're taking a look in afterwards, we'll have to wait and see. Attila Dina right up there. He's been fantastic so far here at Monza. I wonder what these drivers can grab.
That will be interesting for sure. Just loading into the race now. 20 seconds until the race starts.
Absolutely, and 25 minutes of fantastic racing put back onto the clock as we'll get ready once again here at Monza. Once again, it's Pfeiffer and Markovic on the front row of the grid. We're underway for 25 minutes once more. The second race here at Monza. Just 2 rounds left to go after this, and so it's now or never for some of these drivers as Pfeiffer is away clean, but Markovic is quite close to attack down the inside as Pinchas in way too hot makes a little bit of contact with Pfeiffer, and Pfeiffer might well have a great run out of the Rettifilio. Markovic was just in a little bit too hot as well with Pinchas and Attila Dina behind. Juan Manuel Gomez holding up a little bit of the train in the background, and look at that coming around Curva Grande. 3, 4 wide as we see Barna and Ottaviani side by side for 9th and 10th, obviously where they started this race. But the likes of Kirill Antonov, they need to make a lot of progress, and you can see Antonov is going on the attack of Zupanek.
Pinchas there losing a place as well. Right in the beginning. Someone's off in the gravel there. It must have been Santa Guida.
Yeah, dropping right down the order. Massive start, though, from Attila Dina up into 3rd place. That is a superb start from the MRS esports driver. Of course, dirt just being flung up into the air as back with our championship leader Florian Haase way down the order, 20th position, now needs to make a decent amount of progress. Vigneri, he was going side by side. Santaguida, the Swiss driver, is directly ahead of him in that blue car that you can just see popping through shot there. Florian Haase knows some of these drivers. He knows that he needs to get through very, very quickly. Back with a couple of... Oh, look at that moment from Pinsesh in the foreground, a shot. He was diving in almost 45 degrees to the race circuit there. Somehow still managed to pick up the apex at Ascari. But look at this train behind, as they're still all very tight, still in the slipstream of Attila Dina. Ben Zupanek, Juan Manuel Gomez, you can see Zupanek there just dropping out of position, trying to defend from Kirill Antonov, who's now going around the outside of the Parabolica for the Lark Sport Rosenet team, almost making it stick, still going to get pushed out wide here, and it's just about where the slipstream's going to go. It's going to be advantageous to Zupanek.
Tough start there, and you could see how one attempt of a move like Pinsesh just did can cause a big traffic jam right behind him. Everyone bunching up there. MRS triple lead in the front. Pfeiffer ahead of Markovic, ahead of Dina. Oh, and that's Zupanek too late. That was very close there. But he's going past Pinsesh as a result.
I mean, that was bold. I mean, Ben Zupanek's the kind of driver that I could see winning in a race like this. You know, he's a driver that's not scared of getting his elbows out, and sometimes in a race like this, that is exactly what you need. Speaking of that, we're seeing that from Gomez getting past Pliska and now looking back to try and pass Kirill Antonov, who's now going side by side with Pinsesh. He's dropping down the order. Pinsesh not looking very strong in this race. We said that his early race pace was looking lacking in the first race of the day, and kind of looking in the same sort of boat here as it's going to be, and I did not expect to say this today, an MRS Esports 1-2 at the moment. As
1-2-3.
1-2-3, because Markovic is an MRS Esports driver as well, so I was not expecting that. Absolutely incredible.
And he's in the perfect position now to get his first race victory. Never won a race, and on RaceRoom in general in the esports competition. That's Max Pfeiffer there on your screen. His teammates are fighting and they're holding back Zupanek. Zupanek, of course, has picked up a victory already this season. He's got the experience, and he also drove a race where he had to fight the whole time when he won. But this is looking good for Pfeiffer.
Very, very good indeed. Of course, like you said, he was denied victory at Spa by the tiniest of margins, and an incredible race against Kirill Antonov. As you can see, Ottaviani and Pliska there just diving it in, running through the final corner of the Parabolica, as Ottaviani needs to go a little bit faster here. Lucas Vela drive-through penalty for ignoring slowdown warning. Someone who doesn't need to go much faster, he needs to go a bit slower, to be perfectly honest, as lap 2's completed and Pfeiffer's got nearly a second lead over his teammates, back with Ben Zupanek, who will be the biggest threat in this fight. And you know this kind of driver, Zupanek likes to fight hard. He's won a race so far in the season. There he is firing it through. There's contact, and Attila Dina is round. That is not fair for Attila Dina. You've got to say that was a little bit too harsh from Ben Zupanek. He was trying to cover off those. There is also Pliska. Was that Pliska off? It certainly is. There's Attila Dina coming through shot. A real big shame for Dina, who's looking as good as ever here at Monza. Of course, had a PB result and was now fighting for a podium. I think Zupanek might be in a touch of trouble over that one.
Yeah, we will also try to get the replay back up. But yeah, there goes the MRS 1-2-3.
Yeah.
Now it's just Max Pfeiffer with the lead, and yeah, Zupanek, we said it before, he's been driving aggressive. Perhaps this was a little bit over the line. We will see it in just a moment. But now Markovic, of course, he will fight back. He's also quite an aggressive driver, and I don't think he will feel flustered by Pinsesh behind him.
I remember when Zupanek won back at Spa, it was in a feisty duel with Gianmarco Fiducci. I think Markovic is slowing down here. I think he might have a penalty, dropping back behind even Kirill Antonov. So what was looking so good for MRS Esports, of course, Markovic was on the podium. He's now dropped off of it, but Markovic is a quick driver, so never know what we might see. It's a 2-second buffer, though, that we're seeing from Pfeiffer at the front of the field. Let's take a look at this replay. So keep your eye on the white and sort of grey gunmetal blue shot, diving in too deep, trying to cover off Markovic. And definitely the innocent party in all of that is Attila Dina.
Yeah, it kind of looked like that Zupanek was caught in between Markovic and Dina. Dina had no chance, of course, but I'm not sure if it really was all on Zupanek either.
If Markovic is, yeah, kind of like leaving his car in a position where it kind of, is a hard one to tell, and will require looking at it from different angles. But unfortunately, either way, the incident has happened, and Attila Dina has had the invoice delivered onto his desk. Unfortunately so. Zupanek, though, then will lead this group in second position with Pinsesh, Antonov, Markovic. Gomez is still kind of there or thereabouts, as is Martin Barner, who, after winning that race, remember back to the Nürburgring, where Martin Barner marched his way through the order, finished third in race 1, second in race 2, and actually wasn't too far away from potentially even challenging for a race win. This would be, if Martin Barner could get onto the podium, this would be his 5th consecutive podium finish, which is incredible.
Yeah, he's just been so good in the reverse grid races. And not because he started 10th, but because he's getting it back up the order. Oh, that was Garibaldi there. Going up the inside of Ben Svarkas with a fantastic debut here, but you can kinda see that he's not quite having the same experience as some of the drivers around him. Is dropping back a little bit. Florian Hasse in P15, that's not so bad after the first race, but he could have maybe made a little bit more progress at the stage.
I mean, there's not been too much chaos for him to pick his way past on the lap 1 there. Of course, there was little bits, but that's where you see the massive gains. Haas, those experience. Same with Garibaldi, and that's exactly what you're speaking of. The experience of these drivers is what will assist them in times like this, in battles like this, when racing around Monza is so complex. And by the way, Barner's through on Gomez and was going defensive, running down to the Parabolica as they'll go side by side, and Gomez was trying to make it stick around the outside, rubs over the rear left quarter of Barner's car and might well be able to regain the position on the start-finish straight. Is back side by side, which they'll go line astern across the stripe, and Juan Manuel Gomez will potentially retake 6th position from Barner. This needs to be a proper send on the brakes from Barner, but Gomez is pretty good on the brakes himself, as behind that Garibaldi's trying to get past Ottaviani, as there goes Barner in very, very deep. Oh, up on the 2 wheels, big style Gomez, and up on the 2 wheels, big style Barner, and Barner's potentially going to lose out here to Ottaviani, not his teammate though, who will come across with a pretty hefty bump draft.
Big push for Barner there, and I mean, we've all seen it in F1, the situation. Oh, what happened there? Kind of bounced back a little bit. Big side-by-side contact with Ottaviani there. We've seen in F1 how hard this corner can be, and Barner's around as well!
And Martin Barner has been spun out in the same way that Florian Haase did in race 1, and that one was James Montgomery, just a little bit down the inside, was trying to make a move stick on Barner, and the drama, I said, Rob, we were not done with drama today, and Martin Barner, after a sensational race 1, after a great run through in race 2 to get himself up even potentially into podium contention, Montgomery there spinning him out slightly, and Barner is going to lose a whole heap of points.
Is this all still falling in place of Antonov? He's kept his nose clean so far. Pinsesh has been in the accident with Hasse, of course, can perhaps expect a penalty. Now Barner not getting a lot of points. Hasse, of course, only in P14. And Antonov here sitting in P4, right behind Pinsesh, right behind Zupanek as well.
And this is why we need Fiducci on the grid again. And I know, because you know, we need more championship contenders. I mean, at this point, you can really come back from issues and stuff, as Florian Haase is having further issues down in 20th spot. As you're saying, Gustavo Fregato there obviously popped up on screen. Another drive-through penalty dished out, unfortunately, of one to Vela, one to Fregato. Not looking so good for Snow Shatton, as there it is once again just popping up. Oh, a little bit of contact there from either side on Adam Pinsesh. Spencer Zupanek ahead, Kirill Antonov behind. And like I say, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Antonov here. Didn't take any unnecessary risk in race 1. Deeming to not take any unnecessary risk in this race as well. And now we'll see it once again, what's happened to Barner. So Montgomery's down the inside, sends it in. It's unfortunate. You could, not the best angle to see it from. I kind of wonder if Barner was pinching a little bit. There wasn't really much of an overlap from Montgomery behind. But at that point, as we saw from Haase, the cars are so easy to tip. Of course, you're on the brakes. You lift off the brake between the two apex at the Della Roggia. You're not really on throttle that much. And so at that point, if you get hit slightly, that's what makes the difference. That's what spins you around. As we return to Florian Haase, as Vinieri's been off the road, and Attila Dina has been straight down the inside.
missed, of course, what happened to Hasse, why he dropped further back again. Perhaps a slowdown, but perhaps an incident as well. Certainly one of the toughest races out of all of those that we have seen this season, and we've seen quite a few tough races already. Still battles plenty throughout the field. Garibaldi attacking Ottaviani. It was a clean move.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicely through for the race winner here in 2019 as Garibaldi is marching forward just a little bit, although he can't really work his way up the order to assist his teammate Martin Barner. He could potentially assist his teammate Ben Supernek, although that is fairly far down the road. But we are still under halfway through this race. Ben Supernek will defend potentially here from Adam Pinsesh. I don't think Pinsesh is looking to get through either way because that gap to Pfeiffer, I feel bad for Pfeiffer here in a sense, as there's nothing he can do right now. I've been in this boat before, where you're driving some of the best laps potentially of your sim racing career. Everything is going brilliantly. You're leading by 2 seconds and suddenly the train behind start working together and that gap just comes down and down and down and down and down, and there is nothing you can do as Gomez and Baldi once again switch positions. Same with Fragotto and Raikl. Of course, Fragotto's got a penalty as well. I think quite a bit's just happened there in the mid-pack as Florian Larsson's back up into 16th spot.
Sinan Gunnar there, going very slowly out of the chicane. Where should we look? I mean, there's battles plenty throughout the field. That's Michael Rechel, the second of the Dürr Esports cars, and there's a slowdown for Dina as well in the background, I think. Plenty of stuff happening. We have to go to the front though, because Antonov is putting the pressure on Adam Pinsesh. Already tried the first attack here in the Lesmos. And there's Markovic behind. He kind of caught himself again after the slowdown penalty he received earlier in the race.
And at what point does Antonov think, yeah, I'm going for the championship, but I need to score some hefty points here? He's still a fair way down, but with the issues, Verducci not here, issues for Haase, terrible round, Pinsesh as well, like you said, not doing so great. He's obviously in third position at the moment, so that's all right, as we'll see side by side once again between Ottaviani and Gergo Baldi, as Juan Manuel Gomez has been dumped down towards the back end of this group as he's focused on series champion David Nodge, on Montgomery as well. Nodge looking a bit better in this race, a bit more like his feisty self, as they'll all try and find their way through. Ottaviani defending, but more so from Pliszka, less so than attacking, as we'll see. Pliszka, Luciano Wittfurt rather. I'm getting my Ballas esports drivers mixed up.
Yeah, Wittfurt also with his best performance of the season.
Yeah, fantastic.
Pliszka ran into trouble earlier on, but he's now in the top 10 instead. And there's Antonov, and I think that's an attempt.
Oh, it is a big attempt. Here he is. The waiting is over. Kirill Antonov to the inside. Not made that one. Back round and still not passed, as we got 3 wide rejoining this battle. Luciano Wittfurt around the outside of Alessandro Ottaviani. Also through that was Ben Farkas rejoining. Absolute chaos through the middle of all of that. Nodge has also got through on Gomez, and we're back to the battle for the race lead. You know that Supernek isn't going to wait 1 second. If there is an opportunity, he will find it and try and muscle his way past the German of Pfeiffer, who was once again, a reminder, denied back at Spa. Finished second on that day in a very, very tight battle with Kirill Antonov. And, well, Antonov is at the back end of this train, and I wouldn't rule it out once more.
Such a performance, you wonder what Supernek could do in the championship.
When, like I say, Antonov, he can't waste too much time here. And, of course, he's still scoring some decent points, but this is one of his rivals in the championship, Adam Pinsesh, who is ahead of him in the championship by a small margin. It won't be actually any more, considering this round he will have outscored him in the previous race, so technically they'll be ahead with Antonov of Pinsesh at the moment, but he still needs to get through, still needs to outscore Pinsesh on a fairly regular basis. He's outscoring Florian Haase, that's all well and good, but again, you don't know who's going to win the championship right now. It's so close, so you don't actually know, if you're in this, you don't know who you need to be covering more so than the other driver, and that's where things get really complicated in a 4-5 way championship battle.
Yeah, and that's also the other thing. Hasse won't actually lose that many points this round, because he will just let his drop score count, and that one isn't so bad.
Yeah.
So it will be very exciting either way in the last 2 races. We will have live points updates in the next race, and that will be exciting. Not this time though, but yeah, where should we show these live points updates? We have to watch all these cars, all these battles at the same time anyway. Changes at the front, but here already Baldi and Farkas in the foreground, Ottaviani and David Notch side by side as well.
Oh, there is the close battle though. Farkas is moving forward once again, showing on his debut race in the CUPRA SimRacing Series that he's not messing around here. Wasn't messing around in race 1. Didn't have the great progress in race 2 that we were potentially expecting. Dropped back a little bit, but now he's finding his form once more. The pressure's not going to his head. He's battling it out with a known quantity in Gergo Baldi, a race winner here in this championship, has been on the podium even this season, back in the first round of the season at the Hockenheim Ring in the second race, but also of course a WTCR esports champion. So he's an incredible driver, is Gergo Baldi, and has achieved so much in sim racing and now so in the real world of motorsport, which he's making his name in. You're going toe-to-toe with a driver like that, you know what you're going toe-to-toe with. A driver with incredible experience over many years in sim racing.
Yeah, this would be a lot of pressure for Farkas, but I think he can gain a lot of confidence with a battle like this. If he can really hold his own against Baldi, even if he gets past eventually. But you know, just staying here a few laps, and I think Baldi might actually be helping him here, trying to get away from Wittvold and Ottaviani.
Another potential.
Ooh, Farkas is wide.
See that assistance from Baldi might have just pushed him in a little bit too quick into the Parabolica, and now they're going to make contact, and it's looking good for Baldi to potentially pick up this position. We must return to the front though, as Bent Zupanek is looking down the inside of Max Pfeiffer, and there is the full send on the brakes. Zupanek looking for his second race win of the season. Pfeiffer looking to potentially be denied for the second time this season. That is a shame. A little bit of assistance though off the corner from Pinsek, and look at that, all the way over to the left, all the way over to the right, running around Curva Grande now. Bent Zupanek hits the front of the race with 7 minutes left to go. A bolt end, it just wasn't covered off from Pfeiffer at all. And what does Pfeiffer do here? What does Pinsek do? He's already looking down the inside. Heavy on the brakes is Zupanek. And look at this, it's 3 wide down to the De La Rozier as Adam Pinsek is through on Pfeiffer. Kirill Antonov might be through as well. Bent Zupanek has the race lead. Pfeiffer's going backwards. Pinsek is there, but through Lesmo 1, he's trying to leave it to the inside, but the momentum off the corner will go the way of the Hungarian. And now as a Hungarian 1-2 as Antonov fancies himself in the mix.
And Zupanek was always going to run this deep in the corner there. He was never going to allow Pfeiffer the room alongside him, and now Pfeiffer's down to third. But for Zupanek, this played out perfectly. Because he's got a small gap now to Pinsek, and Pinsek hasn't looked that quick on his own, pretty much in the entire race. Ooh, Pfeiffer off the line.
Oh, yeah, and that's going to allow Antonov through potentially down into the Parabolica as just a little bit too deep, and I don't know if Antonov is going to try and make this one stick. As again, look, just more so to assist Pfeiffer, and hopefully Pfeiffer won't miss his breaking point here, and we'll be able to hook it in nicely around the Parabolica. Antonov knows at this point, not necessarily 100% in the truth, but if he has any chance of winning this race, it needs to be with the assistance of Pfeiffer. They need each other as much as each other. I think Juan Manuel Gomez, by the way, I don't know how many times we've seen this season, but I think he might well have hit his instant limit as he is dropped down to the end of the field and out of the race.
Yeah, kind of the story of the season here. There's Antonov, and I think that's the move.
There's the podium potentially for the Russian of Antonov, but Pfeiffer wasn't really giving it up with too much ease, was harsh between the two of them, but Antonov back onto the podium looking for yet another one. This season has, I believe, 6 in total so far, as Luciano Wittvold and Gergo Baldi go side by side. Alessandro Ottaviani being squeezed off the road from the Dutchman driving the Ballas eSports car, and now Farkas is coming around the outside. No way to pass there, as this group will remain in it. A little bit naughty there from Wittvold. I kind of get the feeling I'd be a little bit disappointed if I was Ottaviani, but either way, Gergo Baldi now heads this train, and Farkas has lost out a little bit. Oh, he's going to lose out a bit more as well. Was very bold. wild from Raikkonen to try and attack down into Lesmo 1, and once again he'll try and attack down into Lesmo 2, but no way through. He's got the series champion directly behind him. You can see it denoting the 0-1. Always love driving around in a number 1. It does give you a little bit extra speed, a little bit extra gusto in a championship if you ever get to don on that important number. Obviously, in some forms of motorsport, the 1 isn't necessarily denoting a champion, where it has less meaning, whereas here the 1 is important. You have to earn that. That is, like, in a sense, your trophy. When you're driving around, people know exactly who you are and what you've achieved. Ben Zupanek, though, going on the defence. Adam Pincech looking for his first win of the season, and Kirill Antonov into the rear end of Adam Pincech. He's looking for his 4th with 2 laps to go here at Monza.
And that's a situation that Antonov loves, to be right behind two cars that are fighting, and he's got the aggression. Of course, Zupanek also has the aggression. We've seen it plenty of times in the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Antonov finds a way through.
Well, Pincech has been denied the race lead there, of course. When it comes to his race victories, he's had a couple, both last year. The opening race of the season last year he won, and of course at Shanghai as well in a 60-minute endurance race, as this battle pack is just looking crazy. Florian Haase, who's been moving up the order, dropped down, moving back up again, is somehow trying to challenge for a top 10 position after a crazy day. Zupanek on the defence, Pincech making contact with Antonov, who might well unlock the key to unlock the door rather, with the key to pass Adam Pincech. I don't know where I was going with that, but he needs to get through now, because if he doesn't, Zupanek will be potentially with a big enough gap that Antonov couldn't do anything about.
Yeah, only 1 lap left after this one, so he doesn't have much time. Haase meanwhile back up to P12, but he will still lose points to everyone. He will even lose points to Fiducci, because Fiducci is also taking his drop score, but Fiducci's drop score is higher. And of course, Bana running in 22nd. He only has to hope that some more cars reach the incident limit. That's the only way how he can gain some positions.
Well, we'll have this penultimate run down to the Parabolica, and then just 1 lap to see who's going to take the race victory here in the 2nd race at Monza. At the moment, the cards are held by Ben Zupanek, but he's got his compatriot of Adam Pincech behind, a 2-time race winner. You've got a 4-time race winner, or 3-time race winner this season, looking for his 4th, a 5-time race winner overall in Kirill Antonov. And of course, no race wins to Pfeiffer, but he is as hungry as anyone else, desperate not to be denied. A 4-car fight for the race lead. Here comes Pincech, back to the outside, running down to the Rettifilio. He is going to fire this one in. It's his final attempt down at each of these corners. Zupanek's in as deep as you can get. No way for the crisscross on Pincech's part, and the 4 are as close as they could possibly be, separated by half a second.
Is there any way through for Pincech? I think he has to go on the inside here. Let's see if Zupanek will cover. He's leaving it late, but he does move over eventually. Antonov should go to the inside now, and he will. Pincech is late on the braking though. There's Antonov, sticking his nose in, contact side by side. That's good for Zupanek.
The gap did indeed grow ever so slightly. There's Pfeiffer looking down the inside of Antonov. There was no way to pass there. The 4 of them are still tight. It's still open for anyone. It could be Antonov might need Pincech to make a very bold dive on Zupanek and open the door for him to dive his way through, because right now, with only 2 realistic opportunities left to go, and Pincech isn't really close enough to tick off the first one, as we hit Ascari on the final lap of this race. You can see Markovic is just sat there in the background by himself in 5th place, looking still good for a top 5, or a 2nd top 5 of the season. Running through Ascari, beautiful over the apex. Antonov was looking pretty good in the background, but he's a little bit slow off of Ascari, which means this is definitely a 2-horse race. And what does Pincech do? This could be a very tight run to the line, but Zupanek's more than accustomed to getting his elbows out in races like this. He's in deep at Parabolica. Pincech not able to find his way through. It's looking good for Zupanek It's so close with Pinsesh behind. It's going to be a drag race to the line, but Pinsesh, I don't think it's going to be quite close enough. It'll be under a tenth of a second. It's looking good for Zupanek across the line to take his second win in the CUPRA SimRacing Series. Pinsesh and Antonov round out the podium. It was looking so good for MRS. They don't even get a podium at the end of the race, but Florian Haase is not even going to get a top 10 side by side with Montgomery. It's only going to be 12th place.
12th place, that's not good for him, but it's still better than what Martin Barner is going to get on an otherwise perfect event for Mirror Esports. He was sent into the wall, and he's finishing in P22 with a heavily damaged car there. This will be a very interesting championship and a very interesting day for our stewards as well, with all these scenes there. Pinsesh involved, Hasse involved, of course, Zupanek himself involved, and then ends up winning the race eventually. But for now, of course, congratulations. And I mean, he really had to fight for it. He really had to work his way through the field there. Ben Zupanek winning the race ahead of Pinsesh and Antonov, who gained a massive amount of points in the championship with this event.
Antonov looking very much like a championship contender. He's driving smart, he's driving with his head, and all of those things that we were speaking of at the start of this broadcast about how he's been fairly hot-headed, but he's been so much better this season. He is looking like he is growing on a near race-by-race basis. Either way, though, Mirror Esports are going to sweep here at Monza, taking both race wins with Barner and with Benson Zupanek. And again, another crazy race. Another race with intense drama. Another race that potentially will be dragging this championship closer and closer again. And with very little time left to go in this championship, Rob, I am struggling to pick out a favourite among this group. It's looking like it is definitely going down to the wire.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say that Hasse, you know, it was not his own fault this time that he dropped back so far, so I wouldn't rule him out when it comes to the next races. And you can see here Bilsterberg and Macau, that's two really difficult circuits to driver tracks. And will be interesting to see who will come out on top. Especially Bilsterberg is a track that we've never raced in the front-wheel drive series on RaceRoom.
Yeah, very much an unknown quantity is the Bilsterberg. Of course, it's built by it's built by someone who's not built some great racetracks. Let's go with that. But it is, in a sense, a crazy roller coaster of a racetrack. Normally classified, I think, as the mini Nordschleife. It's a crazy track, and will be great for racing when we return in 3 weeks' time. Macau, though, will end the season, and that is a track which I'm sure Antonov is desperate to get to, winning both of the races last season on the legendary streets of Macau. But our focus is on the Bilsterberg, is on returning to Germany for the 4th and final time of the season as we look to try and wrap ourselves up the 2021 CUPRA SimRacing Series. It's going to be a tight fight. That is all we know, and we'll be glad to see you back in 3 weeks. Until then, though, thank you very much. I've been Lewis McGlade. Rob Wiesenmüller has been joining me on commentary and manning the cameras as well. Been a very busy boy today. Until next time, though, thank you very much and goodbye. They take to the start here for the very first time. Looking down the inside of Jack Heatley as well, a touch of contact between the two. Still rubbing wheel to wheel. What a move! Fantastic stuff.